These latest visuals that have just come in of the Prime Minister actually chairing that crucial cabinet meeting there. All top ministers present. We can of course see Piyush Goyal, Rajnath Singh, Nirmala Sitharaman, Prahlad Joshi. You have all top ministers present there. Amit Shah, of course. The Prime Minister chairing that crucial cabinet meeting. A lot of suspense, a lot of speculation over it. What's actually going to come out of this cabinet meeting? And as Mara was just pointing out, this cabinet meeting, of course, is crucial because if an important legislation is actually to be brought in by the government in Parliament, it has to be ratified by the Cabinet, which is why there's a lot of buzz around what this Cabinet is actually discussing as we speak. Is it the Women's Reservation Bill? Is it the OBC Reservation Bill that the Cabinet will ratify? A lot of suspense, but of course, as my colleague Sunil Prabhu was also reporting, it's most likely that there's going to be the Women's Reservation Bill that could be introduced by the Modi government in Parliament in the special session. All right, so these latest visuals, in fact, coming in, the Prime Minister chairing that crucial cabinet meeting there, all top ministers present. Remains to be seen what actually comes out. Of course, there's a lot of buzz initially, on the OBC reservation bill, given the fact that that was something that we've been seeing in the past couple of days, the BJP's outreach to the OBC community, the Vishwakarma Yojana being announced by the Prime Minister, key OBC leaders returning to the NDA fold. And of course, all of this as there's a lot of demand as far as the opposition is concerned over the caste census, which is why we see this kind of outreach. But of course, remains to be seen what pans out finally as far as this cabinet meeting is concerned. Mara Shakil is with us. Mara, over to you. You were talking about why this timing of the cabinet meeting is crucial.
Yes, because usually the cabinet meetings take place on Wednesdays, but a meeting of this nature happening just even as the special session is on, with speculation if the government will be bringing in some surprise items, which has always been the case of multiple governments bringing in some surprise bills, and they are introduced and shared with the MPs only in the morning, just hours before the bill is taken up in the House. So we should be prepared for perhaps a surprise to come in tomorrow itself, because tomorrow is the day when the movement happens from the old to the new building. Will the government want to send a message that day one is about some kind of an historic legislation? Because if you remember, the words of the Prime Minister was that there will be historic decisions, not one but multiple decisions that could be taken. There are several indications that have come in. You have talked about UCC, but the only question is that will UCC happen? Well, in the realm of speculation, what is being said is that there are a number of states, which includes Gujarat and Uttarakhand, which are taking up UCC at the state level. So that could be ruled out for the moment. All ways in at the moment for the OBC reservation bill. Well, the government and particularly Prime Minister Modi's new BJP since 2014 has been putting a lot of emphasis on OBCs. If you remember, Vedant, when the last cabinet reshuffle happened, the emphasis again was on the number of OBC MPs who have been given a place of pride in the new cabinet. They have been given important positions in the new cabinet. Prime Minister Modi, who himself comes from the OBC community, has been talking about that new BJP is no longer about Brahman Baniya. That was the old BJP before 2014, before the beginning of the Modi Shah era of the BJP. In this new BJP, it is about the Garib Gurba, the poorest of the poor, the people whose voices have not been heard. And that is the reason why this new imagining or reimagining of the BJP has meant the inclusion of the OBCs in their caste arithmetic. Recently, we have seen the India group push in for the caste census. They have been saying that the government should also make 2011 caste census public. So because all those developments are happening, the government would want to answer them in some way, whether it will be through an OBC reservation bill, which would essentially mean that giving a percentage of the reservation in both in the Lok Sabha and also in the state assemblies to the OBCs. Whether that will happen or not, that remains to be seen.
So that's a very interesting point you're making, Mara, because of course there's been a lot of outreach as far as the BJP is concerned. Of course, we see key OBC leaders returning to the NDA fold, the announcement of the Vishwakarma Yojana. And as you've also been reporting that, this Mandal versus Kamandal could perhaps play out in the run-up to 2024. But coming to the Women's Reservation Bill, because there's a lot of buzz around that as well. You had Jagdeep Dhankar a few days back, in fact, batting for women's reservation. In fact, Sonia Gandhi also talked about the Women's Reservation Bill and how that should be brought. And as you also said, the day one of the new parliament, the government would want that it's etched in history. So they would want some historic decision sort of to perhaps to be introduced on day one.